Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Holmes, and today we're going to dive into some really good information on PCOS, or polycystic ovarian syndrome. Now there are three scenarios that can either cause PCOS or enhance your PCOS, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So number one, we're actually going to talk about brain function. Now the research is showing that, as you can see here in our diagram of the brain as well as the spinal cord, that at night, women with PCOS, they are seeing pulsatile release of something called gonadotropin releasing hormone that comes from a part of the brain called the hypothalamus. Now what that does is it actually causes an excess amount of something called LH, which is another hormone to be released from the brain. That's a luteinizing hormone. So we have really high amounts of LH, but too low of something called FSH, which is follicular stimulating hormone. Now with this high amount of LH, if you're familiar at all with the female cycle, we'll oftentimes think that, well, LH is supposed to help with the production of progesterone from the ovaries. However, what actually happens is with too much LH, we're going to actually see a woman shift from making progesterone to more of androgen production, which are male sex hormones. So we'll see a lot more testosterone and, in fact, really low amounts of progesterone. Now we'll see a huge surge naturally in a woman's cycle of LH during the second half of her cycle. That's where we begin ovulation. So if we're having difficulties with the amount of LH that's being released throughout the entire month, we're going to have an issue with ovulation, which is often why we see PCOS and infertility go hand in hand. We also see too little FSH. Once again, if you're familiar with the female hormone cycle at all, you'll know FSH helps with the stimulation of the follicle. FSH is follicular stimulating hormone. It goes and speaks to the ovaries to help the follicle mature, and we get the release of estrogen. So with little FSH, we see the beginning of the cycle it just starts abnormally. So we don't see a normal cycle pretty much at all for women with PCOS. What we'll often see is too little estrogen as well as too little progesterone. However, they might have symptoms of estrogen dominance, such as really heavy bleeding and things of that sort. But ultimately, they still have too little estrogen and too little progesterone and too many male sex hormones, specifically testosterone. And that's due to this huge fluctuation that's happening at night from the hypothalamus via the release of gonadotropin releasing hormone. So that's a lot of really complicated information, but we know of some things that will actually cause changes in that. And that is cortisol levels. So when we see fluctuations in energy, people who are highly dependent on coffee or some form of caffeine, those who have a high intense amount of brain fog, blood sugar swings, we know that they're also having issues with cortisol and brain function. Your brain is the hormone control center of your hormones and of your entire body. So when we have issues that are leading to neurological or brain issues, we're going to see hormone issues as well. That kind of leads us to number two, which is insulin resistance. It's very common for women with PCOS to also be diagnosed as insulin resistant. Not necessarily full-blown diabetes, but blood sugar issues somewhere, whether that's hypoglycemia, reactive hypoglycemia, pre-diabetic, or full-blown diabetes. When we see insulin resistance, we'll actually see an upregulation of an enzyme called 1720 lyase. This causes an increase in testosterone. So what is an awesome solution for this? Controlling blood sugar levels. So controlling blood sugar levels means eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and potentially some snacking in between. So breakfast should be eaten within a half hour of waking up, and we should be focusing on our proteins, our fats, and our vegetables versus anything else. This includes fruits, your grains, rice, corn, your pastas, your wheat, your barley, your rye, all of those foods. We need to be putting those on the back burner and focusing more on our fats, our proteins, and our vegetables to help balance our blood sugar. You're someone who doesn't wake up in the morning hungry, in fact you're usually a little bit nauseous and so you just skip breakfast altogether, that's a sign of low blood sugar. You should start trying to incorporate a little bit of breakfast through it for a couple of days and see if it changes your hunger when you wake up in the morning. So number three that we have down here is BPAs. In the research, we're actually seeing really high amounts of BPAs in women who have PCOS. So what are BPAs? BPAs are the things that we find in our plastic containers. We find them in our plastic cups. Any form of plastic generally has BPA in them, unless of course it says BPA free. So the problem is when we warm up these plastic containers, whether it's a water bottle that just sits in your car all day long, or it's your plastic Tupperware containers that you're warming up in the microwave, those BPAs will leach from the plastic and get into our water or our food, and then since it's a toxin, our liver has to detoxify it. And BPAs are really, really harsh on our liver. What else takes place in the liver? What also takes place in the liver is that we have to conjugate hormones, which means when we have too much, let's say, male hormones, they go to our liver in order to be conjugated, so then we can actually get rid of them and they're no longer harmful to our body. And we can eliminate them via either urine or feces. That's the whole part of the detox pathways. It's part of why people go on cleanses or detox cleanse, things of that sort. What they're trying to do is enhance liver function in hopes of kind of regulating hormone function. So BPAs are really, really harsh on the liver. So when we get a huge buildup of BPAs, it kind of starts to clog liver detox pathways, and we'll see large hormonal fluctuations. So what can you do? You can start getting rid of BPAs. So you can use plastic containers if you want, but I highly recommend do not microwave them. Do not set a plastic water bottle in your car all summer long. So what happens is we'll get those BPAs leached into our food, into our water. So I highly recommend looking at glass bottles, glass containers, and things of that sort. Start looking on your containers and seeing if they contain BPAs. I hope you found this information interesting. If you'd like more information on female hormones and things that you can do to help your hormones, please visit our website at ibrainandbody.com. Thanks.